And thank you, Secretary, for the great work that you do on behalf of the people of this country. I want to just reiterate what Senator Tester began, which is those of us on the northern border believe that we're entitled to a level of protection and a level of border security that we don't always see. And we measure the open positions, the ones that your folks have already said, this is what we need to protect the northern border, but yet we have huge vacancies. Recognizing the challenges that you have in recruitment in places like Portal, North Dakota, want to just reiterate the absolute critical importance of getting more attention to the northern border. With that said, a couple things. Number one of the things I frequently hear from the folks down on the southern border is that there isn't really a plan, that the last kind of organized plan or strategic plan for the southern border is a 1990s plan, and that there isn't a sense of kind of coordination. What's your response to that?
My response is that 2 years ago we created joint task forces for the southern border, where a joint task force director is responsible for coordinating all of the DHS assets and resources devoted toward border security in the Southwest and the Southeast. Part of that responsibility is that every year they have to submit to me a plan for border security, which includes not just people, but also other prohibited items, illegal narcotics, and so forth. So we do have strategic plans for how we intend to secure the border each place.
Why do you think that the other law enforcement agencies believe there isn't an overall strategic plan?
I'm not sure. Other law enforcement agencies are certainly aware of our joint task forces and help support them.
Yeah, I say this not by way of criticism, but that communication seems to be a gap here in what you say you have and what people on the border, whether it's people who are living on the border or people who are charged with the responsibility of protecting people on the southern border, believe there is. And so increased communication and understanding, especially making sure that the people who work for your agency actually understand what that plan is and that it's not some document that's on a shelf in Washington, D.C. Second thing, as we're talking about movement of narcotics across the border, movement of marijuana, I think that we'd all agree that marijuana is basically carried across. But one of the concerns that I have with narcotics is that they're typically tunneled across. So we've been talking to your staff about tunnel detection, about technologies. I guess my question to you is, do you believe you have a tunnel detection strategy on the southern border, and are you deploying the best equipment? And if you can't answer that in kind of an open session, I think it would be good to do some kind of secured briefing on tunnel detection.
Happy to give you a secure briefing on that. We do have a tunnel detection capability, and we have a very focused effort on this.
In this
give you
budget,
greater detail in private.
Yeah, right. In this budget, do you believe there's been enough allocated to that kind of technology?
Within the confines of the caps we have to live with, yes. But I could always use more in the absence of budget restraints.
Well, I'm very interested we had an opportunity to see some of this in Israel as they relates to securing their border. And I'm very interested in what kind of tunnel detection you have, whether we're doing whether we're deploying the number of resources that would reflect our concern about what it is that's moving through those tunnels. Finally, I'd just like to talk about first responder grants. I think we've been very concerned about preparedness for first responders, whether it is trains, whether it is in fact terrorism activity, and yet we see a decrease in that kind of funding for first responders. I'm going to run out of time, but I just want to impress upon you that those folks are on the front line. There isn't enough federal agents, there aren't enough federal personnel to protect this country. They're asking a very minimal amount of investment in helping secure that mission. And the last place we should be cutting is in my opinion, first responders, whether it is a train or whether in fact it is responding to terrorism and being prepared to respond. Just a note, when in fact we had a very high-profile incident of a train exploding, the single thing that the fire chief told me is that the command control incident training that he received at FEMA was absolutely critical. So it's deployed every day. You do great training. Let's not lose sight of our partnerships with the local folks.
Okay, thank you.